So, good evening. So, in this lecture, we will be discussing about the melting practice. What are the various types of furnaces that are used in foundry, and then defects. What are the various defects in castings? In the next class, we will see the various types of castings. So, let me summarize what we have discussed in the previous class. So, in the previous class, we have seen casting and how to make a sand mold. So there are different types of casting. For example, sand casting is there, investment casting is there, shell molding is there, die casting. There are different types of casting. So out of them, very important one is called sand casting. So which uses an expandable mold. So the mold means that is the cavity of the desired shape. So the mold is expandable. So when we are going to cool, when we take out the casting, it is going to be destroyed. It is going to be destroyed. So that is called sand molding. How to prepare a mold? So we have seen what are the various tools that are required. So we have seen there are two molden boxes. One is called cope, the other one is drag, and then there is one thing called pattern. So the physical model of the object to be made. For example, automobile piston. So you should have the physical model that is called pattern. Usually it is made out of wood, and we have seen there are three types of pattern: single piece pattern, solid patterns, split piece pattern, and finally match plate pattern. Three types of pattern. So what we are doing is how do you make a cavity? So to make that cavity means mold. How to prepare a mold in case of sand casting. So what we have done, we have taken cope and drag. First we keep the cope, parting sand or facing sand you keep. And then what you do, at the center you keep the pattern, then fill it with green sand, do the ramming operation, and then tilt it upside down. So if it is a split piece pattern, the other half of the pattern you keep, and then once again you fill it with sand, keep the runner riser. Riser is for to know whether the mold is filled or not, filled with molten metal. Runner is the passage through which, that is through passage, through which the molten metal will enter into the cavity. In between gates will be there. So all these things. So once again ramming, then you take it out, withdraw the pattern, then the cavity is ready. Then we have to pour the molten metal. So that's what pour the molten metal. That's what we have to do. So in this class, we will see how do you pour the molten metal. What are the various issues? Because very important, making a mold, that is cavity, is very important, but this is also equally important. Melting, because otherwise, no, if the metal is very cold, means it will not flow properly. If it is too hot, it will create problems. So casting defects we will see. So now we will move on. So what are the various factors that will affect the fluidity? So whenever melting means, we know when we are going to heat the metal, so it will be converted into molten metal. It has to be fluid. It has to flow. Then only it will occupy the various parts of the cavity, and then only if you allow it to solidify, you will get the required shape. So what are the various factors which will influence the fluidity? And these are all liquid property. Viscosity is very important. You know very well, viscosity depends upon temperature, surface tension, inclusion. So this is very important, because especially when you make a sand casting, the sand particles, foreign particles will fall into the molten metal, and this will create some defects. So it will affect the fluidity also. And then solidification pattern of the alloy. Because normally any medium, it will be an alloy. You know already. You take two different metals, join them, that is an alloy. Then mold design, that is a cavity design. Rate of pouring, what is the rate at which you are pouring, and then how heat transfer takes place. So these are some of the factors which will influence the fluidity of the molten metal. So what are melting practice? I told you melting is a very important parameter. Just like mold design, it's also very important. A number of furnaces can be used for melting the metal. The choice of furnace depends upon the type of metal to be melted. So one is crucible furnace, which is very common, which is used for casting. Cupola furnace. Cupola furnace is very popular. Then crucible furnace, induction furnace, which is an electric furnace. Then reverberatory furnace, in which there is a burner, which is on the wall of the furnace. So these are the various types of furnaces. Next comes the cupola furnace. So just a cupola furnace, they are cylindrical furnace and they are used for iron and ferrous alloys. So alternate layers. So now just I'll show the diagram. I think you will understand. So this is a cupola furnace. So, just to see, so this is cylindrical. So just to see the arrow mark, the two-dimensional diagram. So this will be cylindrical in shape. Diameter will be around 2 meters, 3 meters. So large diameter, and it will be cylindrical in shape. Top and bottom, nothing will be there. Just a cylinder. There is no top. We are in the top. We are going to install the spark arrestor. In the bottom, we are going to have a sand bed. We are going to have a sand bottom. So we have a cylindrical, which is usually made out of steel, and completely it is lined inside with refractory bricks. So at least one brick or maybe 2 brick layer inside the steel cylindrical, inside the steel cylindrical, we are going to line with refractory bricks. And from this you will know why we are having refractory bricks, because inside the furnace the temperature is going to be very high. So that is the reason we are going to have some refractory bricks. So we know they are all poor conducting. Brick is a poor conductor of heat. So that's why the steel cylindrical shell, steel cylinder, it's lined inside with refractory bricks. So the diameter of the steel cylinder will be 2 meters. The height will be sometimes as high as 7 to 8 meters. 10 meters also is possible. So the height is quite high and the diameter 2 meters, 3 meters, something like that. And it is lined inside with refractory bricks. So lining is generally thicker in the lower portion of the furnace, of the cupola furnace, as the temperature are higher than in the upper portion. So normally here the thickness of the brick will be more and here the thickness will be less. There is a charging door through which the coke, pig iron, steel scrap and flux is charged. So this is the charging door. So this is the charging door. Left hand side, it can be right hand side, there is no hard and fast rule. So on one side on the top, it usually in the top, because we are going to feed all the materials. So this is called a charging door through which coke, which is a fuel in this case, because combustion has to take place, then only melting will take place, and then only we will be getting the molten metal. So coal or coke is the, so in this case, coke is the fuel, pig iron, the iron ore, which is going to be cast iron. Normally cupola furnace is used for cast iron. Then waste steel scrap and flux. So the flux, what is the purpose of the flux is to remove the impurities and to prevent the oxidation. So now usually limestone is used. So what we are doing is through the charging door, layer by layer. So first thing is coke. For initially you fuel, first thing you up to some level you will have coke, then metal, coke, then flux, metal. So alternate layers, you will be alternating it. So first you start with the fuel, which is coal or coke, and then you have the metal, coke and flux, just to remove the impurities. So alternatively you will be charging them. You will be charging them into the furnace through the charging door. Next thing is the blast is blown through the tires. So now air, this is what air is allowed inside here. Air is, and then on the circumference, because it's a two-dimensional diagram, on the circumference there are many openings which is called tires. TUYERES, tires. They are all openings which are on the circumference of the steel shell. So we are going to have air, which is air is allowed, and then on the circumference we are having many openings through which we are doing the blasting. So we need combustion first of all. So first through the charging door we are allowing the coal, metal, flux and alternate layers we are allowing, and then in the bottom we have to initiate the combustion. So how the initiation is, first you coke, and there will be a mechanism which is not shown here. We have to fire them using wood and other. Usually cupola furnace, wood is used to fire them. Then air is allowed to go through the wind box. Through the wind box the air is allowed, and then during the tires the blast is created. The hot gases which ascends from the bottom preheats the iron ore. So now once if you combustion takes place, so this is the combustion zone, then we have reducing zone. Here only melting will take place, melting zone, that's what we have the metal, and then preheating zone. So the gases, so once we are heating, the combustion will take place here because coke bed is there, combustion will take place. The hot gases will start moving. So they will be preheating the initial metal. So it has to be raised to some temperature. So that is called preheating. So the hot gases which ascends from the bottom. So we are doing the combustion in the bottom. The hot gas will ascend. It will go and preheat the metal as well as the fuel. So initially the metal comes, it gets preheated and then comes here. And the second stage, melting takes place, and then we will see what happens to the molten metal. We will see. So the cupolas are provided with drop bottom door through which debris, coke, slag, etc. can be discharged at the end of the metal. So in the bottom, there will be some provision to take out. So after the melting is over, so we have to take out whatever. So it will be so many fuel, coke, the burnt coke will be there, and unburnt metal will be there, flux, all these things. So they have to be taken out for the next melt. So in the bottom there will be a provision. That is called drop bottom door. So directly. So this is the provision, drop bottom door. So we can remove, so all of them we can take it out. So once again we can install and then we can go for the next melting. And there are two holes in the bottom. One is called slag hole. Left hand side there is slag hole. Right hand side there is a tapping hole. So what is the difference between this tapping hole and slag zone? And whenever you draw, very important, the slag hole should be at a higher level. The tapping hole should be at a lower level. You see, left side, slag hole is at a higher level and the tapping hole is in the lower level. So now coke is there, metal is there, coke is there, flux is there. Now we are giving the air blast. We are giving through tires. The blast is initiated. The combustion is initiated. Combustion takes place. The metal gets molted in the melting zone, and then it comes down. The molten metal will go through the tapping hole and it is collected, and then it will be taken by means of ladle, and we take the molten metal to pour into the cavity. So this tapping hole is for taking out the molten metal, and this slag hole, basically during molting some impurities will be at the top. So that's why the slag hole is at higher level. So the slag hole, why the slag hole is at higher level? Because the molten metal at the top there will be some impurities due to coke, flux and other things. So they will be on the top. So they should not be allowed to go along with the molten metal. So they have to be taken out first. So the slag will be taken out through the slag hole, which is at a higher level, whereas the molten metal is taken down from the tapping hole. So through the tap hole, the molten metal is poured into the ladle. At the top, conical cap called a spark arrestor. So in the top there is something called spark arrestor. So combustion takes place. This is stack zone. So spark should be avoided. Spark should be prevented. So you have a spark arrestor in the top of the cylindrical shell. Now cupola is charged with wood at the bottom. On the top of the wood, a bed of coke is built. Alternate layers of metal and ferrous alloys, coke and the limestone. Limestone is nothing but flux. It's fed into the furnace from the top. The purpose of adding flux is to eliminate the impurities and to protect the metal from oxidation. So why we are adding flux? Impurities should be eliminated, whereas the metal oxidation should be prevented. Then air blast is opened for complete combustion of the coke. When sufficient metal has been melted, the slag hole is first opened. So first the tap hole should be closed. Only the slag hole should be opened. We should take out the impurities, and then only the tap hole should be opened. The tap hole is then opened to collect the metal in the ladle. So that is the next stage. So first what you do is you close the molten metal, then you take out the slag, and then you open the tapping hole. Now this is about cupola furnace, which is very widely used. That is for cast iron. I told you this is for iron. The next comes the reverberatory furnace. So they are used in copper, tin and nickel production, and sometimes concrete also, cement concrete, where this reverberatory furnace is widely used. So this reverberation is heat the metal to melting temperature with direct fired wall mounted burners. So here the combustion is in the form of the burners. So in the form of the flame, that means the fuel will be in the form of the gas. So the first a gas burner will be there. Just we heat them. So the flame comes. So the flame will be able to heat the molten metal. So you see, so molten metal comes to the bottom usually. So initially, what we are having is a top layer, in this case, reverberatory furnace. Top layer we are having a charged chute through which we are allowing the metal alone, because there is no fuel here. Fuel is the burner. Only the metal alone is fed through the charged chute, whereas through the, so this is for flue gases, sorry. So this is for the flue gases. Just instead of chimney, we are having a provision like this. So this is the charging chute where we are allowing the metal and flux, no fuel. This is the burner, wall mounted burner. So we are having the metal. Now once we heat them, once the flame heats them, the molten metal will collect in the bottom. So this is the tapping hole. So this is the molten metal, and there is a metal well and tap. So there is a tapping hole, just like a tap, we are removing them. And here also there is a slag at higher level. So initially the tap will be closed, the slag will be taken out. You see the diagram, there is a difference. So the slag will go out, and then the molten metal. Once the slag is completely taken out, slag hole is closed, and the tapping hole is opened. So this is reverberatory furnace. And here the mode of heat transfer is through radiation as well as convection heat transfer. So these are the two modes of transfer, by radiation and convection. So the advantage of the reverberation, high volume processing rate. So very quickly we can do, because cupola furnace setting and other things, it will take time. Here just switch on the burner, volume processing rate is very high, and generally the maintenance and operating cost is very less. So the disadvantage is oxidation is a problem here. Efficiency is not very, fuel wastage will be there, because already flame is like this. Whereas in that case now, the combustion is complete. The efficiency will be more than 90%. Where you see the thermal efficiency will not be good, because flame, so much heat is being wasted here. And since it's horizontal, whereas that is vertical, so you see the height will be 5 meters, 6 meters. The diameter is only 2 meters. Here, since it is horizontal, the space restriction is a problem. So these are some of the disadvantages. But of course, the advantage of reverberatory furnace is the volume processing is very high, whereas cost is also very less. So that is about reverberatory furnace. And third comes the electric furnace. So here there is a container, electrodes are there, and then you keep the metal and it's heated up. The electrode is heated and converted into molten metal, and then it is taken out. It is electric furnace. So just you see here the iron ore is there. So electrode, power cable is there. So tapping. So tapping hole is there. Here door for removing the slag. Initially you keep the metal, and then you can tap hole is there, and then slag is there. Door for slag. So this is electric arc furnace. So electric, from the arc, heating takes place, then melting takes place, and then we are taking out the molten metal. That is electric arc furnace. So we are seeing cupola furnace, reverberatory furnace, and electric arc furnace. Now that's about the melting furnaces. So now what are the various casting defects? So these are some of the defects. As I'll go through all the defects, there are many defects, but diagrams are available only for these 6 types of defects. So what is that misrun? Now, for example, this is the cavity. Now the metal is, the cavity is unfilled. That means that is a defect, casting defect. So now we are pouring the metal. So due to some reason, the cavity is filled up to this portion, and this small portion is not filled. That's why misrun. So what is the main reason for this one? Why this misrun is coming is, sometimes now the metal becomes too cold. So initially it will be hot. While flowing, it will become too cold and it cannot move out. The fluidity is not good. So for this reason, it is unfilled. The cavity is unfilled. So that is a defect. So when you are going to. So this is called misrun. And then cold shut. So this cold shut I will explain in a paragraph, where many times the molten flow will not take place through a single passage. When you have a complicated casting, the metal you cannot flow through a single sprue passage. You have to have some 2 or 3 passages. So whenever 2 or 3 passages are there, the fluids will not fuse together properly. So one will be cold, the other will be so. So to avoid this cold shut and mist run, one idea is we have to increase the pouring temperature, because if there is a problem in pouring temperature, then unfilled cavity will be there. So we can increase the pouring temperature, or otherwise the fluidity should be improved. Some alloy composition, something should be tried. Then only these type of defects. So these are all due to molten metals. There are 5 tiles. Next slide I'll show 5 types of reasons why defects. So these 2 defects are due to fluidity. Molten metal, due to molten metal, these 2 defects are there. So shrinkage. So as I told you, you have to plan properly. Otherwise, material will contract. During heating, the metal will expand, and during cooling or solidification, the metal will contract. There is a basic physics. So this shrinkage should be designed properly. Otherwise, cavity will come. Yeah, initially, we have to be very careful until you do the design properly. This shrinkage will take place. Small area shrinkage will take place, which is a defect. So this is called shrinkage cavity. Microporosity. So this is due to the gases. So whenever the molten metal, hot gases will be formed. If the gases are not coming out, during the pouring procedure, it's not coming out, they will form this porosity, which is the undesirable one. So normally porosity will reduce the strength of the casting, So what should be the remedy is, we have to do properly. Vent hole should be given. If the ramming is too tight, the sand is too tight, then the air will not escape. Many vent holes should be given. Then fifth drawing is mismatch. So this is especially in case of split piece pattern. If the two halves, so split piece means there will be two halves of the pattern. If the two halves of the patterns, if they are not aligned properly, so normally when there will be one side of the pattern, there will be 2 pins, and the other side of the pattern there will be 2 double holes. So they will be matched together. So that misalignment is avoided. You see, the lower half of the pattern, you will have 2 holes. Correspondingly, the upper half of the pattern, you will have 2 pins, small pins. So when you assemble them, the pin will assemble in the hole. There is no chance of doing misalignment. Suppose if you don't have this type of arrangement, even if you have sometimes some shifting will take place due to some different reasons. The shifting will take place. Even slightly, you see the diagram, even slightly shift up, it will get shifted up, then the casting is it's a defect in the casting. Metal penetration. So this is due to sand. So inside the cavity, some sand is there. So whenever, especially in case of sand cavity, so the metal will penetrate. Inside. So whenever sand is there, some penetration will take place, and you will have defects like this. So now we will go on to the various types of defects. So the major defects due to gas. I told you, if the gases are not coming out, blowhole, porosity will increase. Porosity, when the porosity is very high, the metal porosity means small pores inside the metal. So when inside the casting, if you have small pores, it will affect the strength of the material. So that is called blowhole. So that is called gas defect. Shrinkage. So unless you design properly, shrinkage cavities, previous diagram you see. So you will have defects like this. So you have to plan for shrinkage properly. And then molding material defects, that is sand and other things. Pouring metal, that is what cold shut and misrun. Pouring metal defects. So we have to increase the pouring temperature. Mold shift. That means if the split piece pattern is not aligned properly. So these are the 5 major defects, but of course sub defects are there. So gas defects. So the condition existing in the casting caused by the trapping of the gas in the molten metal or by mold gases evolved during the pouring of the metal. So blowhole is a very important one, is called blowhole. So when we are pouring molten metal, naturally molten metal gases will be evolved. If the gases are trapped inside the casting, then they create porosity problems, which is a gas defect. So what are the causes? The low gas passing tendency. Venting should be proper, that's what. Due to lower venting. So that's what lab classes we have seen. So inside the sand, we have to create some vent. Small holes we have to create, so that the gases, whenever the molten metal is poured, they will come out, so that the blowholes are avoided. So mold should not be too hot. So these are some of the gas defects. Shrinkage cavities. So they are caused by liquid shrinkage occurring during the solidification of the casting. So this is the basic physics. So when you heat, the metals will expand, and when you cool, it will contract. So during solidification, some shrinkage will be there. So we have to compensate for that. So the feeding of the liquid metal is very important. So the liquid metal, we have to feed them properly. And then riser should be placed at appropriate place, usually at the topmost position of the mold. Sprue should be thicker. Sorry, it should not be maybe too thin. So we have to be recommended to use thick sprues. So very wide sprue, pouring basin should be very wide. Then only the shrinkage can be avoided. So molding material defects, cuts and washes, metal penetration, fusion and swell. These are some of the molding material defects. Cut and washes, fusion, so all these things. So spots, areas, metal and other things. Metal penetration, fusion, swelling. There is one thing called swell. So under the influence of forces, the mold metal can move back. Suppose if the proper ramming, so if the ramming is not proper, while doing ramming, if the ramming is not proper, the mold wall will shift away, and then the component, the casting will swell. So so that is a defect, swell defect. So to avoid that, we have to ram them properly. Then the mold wall will not move back. So the mold wall, when it is rammed loosely, when the ramming is done very loosely, when you withdraw the pattern, the mold wall will move back. So the size of the cavity will be increased, and swell type of defect will take place. To avoid that, the ramming should be proper. Inclusions. So this, I told you, particles of slag, refractory materials, sand, other things, everything will be trapped in the casting during the pouring solidification. So that should be avoided. That is a defect called inclusion. Pouring metal defects. So misran and cold shed. So already told you, misran is caused when the metal is unable to fill the mold cavity. So you see the diagram, this diagram is unable to move. The molten metal is unable to move. That means the cavity is unfilled. So that is called misran. So that is during to pouring metal. What should we do? We'll see in the next slide. In this case, misran is caused when the metal is unable to fill the mold cavity completely and thus leave unfilled cavity. A misran results when the metal is too cold. So what are the causes? Metal is too cold to flow to the extremities, end of the mold cavity before freezing. Long thin sections. When you have the casting which is very thin, means also this type of problem will come. Misran will come. And cold shed, when two streams while melting in the metal, so when you have a defect now, when you have two flow passages which are not fusing properly, then discontinuity will be there. That is called cold shed. So the molten metal should be put through more than one gate. So that's what. So two streams are there. The mixing will not be proper. So if the flowing metal fronts are too cool, so when they are very cold, they may not flow together, and thus will create problem. That is called cold shed. So the misran and cold shed defects are caused either by lower fluidity of the mold or when the section thickness is very small. So how do you improve the fluidity? By changing the composition of the metal or increase the pouring temperature. So by adopting this, when the temperature is increased, naturally flow will be good. So misran and cold shed can be avoided. Finally, mold shift. So mold shift defect occurs when the cope and track boxes have been improperly aligned. Not only the pattern, even the cope and track also we have to align properly. So this is so. I'll show this one in the diagram. Not only the pattern. So here you see, here the red color is the pattern. So not only the pattern, the cope and drag. The cope and drag should be aligned properly. If they are not aligned properly, there is some misalignment. Naturally, the two halves of the patterns will be shifted, and that is called mismatch or mold shift. And that is a defect. So that means the cope and drag should be aligned properly. Normally, pins will be there. Even our lab we can see. Now, misalignment is impossible actually, because we have some alignment screws. We have to do it the correct way only. We cannot do it the incorrect way. So there will be some provision between cope and drag. Here one hole will be there. Top there will be one pin. It aligns, then only alignment will take place. So that can be done. So that is called mold shift. The mold shift defect occurs when the cope and drag or the molding boxes has been not properly aligned. So you align them properly, then this type of defect can be avoided. So in today's class, we have seen two topics. One is what are the various melting furnaces. The other one, what are the casting defects. So coming Tuesday, I will discuss about the various types of casting. So that is also very important. Shell molding is there, die casting is there, investment casting. Apart from can casting, there are some 7 or 8 methods which we have in the syllabus. So within that 1 hour, I'll try to cover all the various types, what are their features, what are their applications and other things. So generally, this being mostly online examination, no? So I'm going to give this PPT and I cannot ask directly what are the casting defects. So the questions will be little bit twisting will be there. So the only thing is you need to study. That is going to be very important. You should have material, and we will not be asking this type of questions. What are the various casting questions? Explain, because this is a procedure actually. If it is closed book examination, we will be asking questions like this. Explain the working of, because the idea of this subject, manufacturing process, is to know the various processes. So that is the idea. But since it is an open book examination, we cannot ask draw the cupola for us. That way we cannot ask. So questions, the only thing is you need to prepare that way in the mind. Assuming it is, because the way in which you are proceeding, at least CAT 1 will be open. 100% CAT 1 will be online examination. Maybe FAT exam can be offline. But anyhow, we will wait for that. But as of now, your preparation, because I am going to give my PPTs. Number one, I will give my PPTs, but I will not ask. I cannot ask from PPT because I am in trouble. If I answer everything is there in the thing means, then I think everybody will get full marks. So some twist will be there. What we have to think now, what are the components that can be made in casting? So for example, in the video in which I have shown, casting housing is one thing. And the next thing is piston, automobile piston is casting, housing, machine bed base. And there are all these things you must study because you will put it indirectly. So what is the method to make a casting? Then means you should say sand casting is a popular method which can be used for making casting. So with this I will stop for this class, and we will see on Tuesday what are the various types of castings we will see on Tuesday.